Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys a theory on the upcoming map or maps. I'm not exactly sure just yet. Of course, the Tortured Path. And this is going to kind of maybe relate to maybe the story or the locations of some places inside this map that we're not exactly sure. Of course, it again is just a theory. And somehow this is going to relate to both the North Pole and Atlantis. Don't exactly ask me how they have some sort of connection. I mean, I don't know that many people who think, oh yeah, the North Pole and Atlantis, they're pretty much the same thing. I've never heard that before. Neither have you. Don't pretend you do. I know you guys are pretending, oh yeah, of course. But anyways, it's just like, what are you doing? Like seriously, like the Nazis, every single time. This happens every time. Every time I try to find some connection between the zombie storyline and the real life Nazis, I'm like, what is this? I mean, the story is more believable than what the Nazis were actually doing. I mean, I don't even know what's going on in Germany at that time. There were so many secret societies and the cults all going on at the same time, just trying to do a bunch of crazy things and trying to prove it in the stupidest ways possible. I'm like, why? Why was this a thing? I mean, I get that the Nazis were evil. I get that. But why do they also have to be so crazy? Like, mental help needing crazy, that level. It's just like, what were you actually thinking? Why did this make sense? But I guess you do have to be that crazy in order to do such evil things, which I guess kind of makes sense, but I don't know. Anyways, let's actually talk about exactly what's going on here and how exactly this is all going to relate. I don't know. But anyways, how this is actually all coming from is actually from just one word alone from the synopsis that, of course, I've done a video on in the past. If you guys want to check it out, it'll be on screen right now. But I just want to focus on two sentences because this is where it actually comes into importance. So the sentences themselves, they actually say, transport the remaining pieces of Emperor Barbarossa's legendary sword to the edge of the world. Uncover the lost forges of the ancient Thule, or something like that. I can't pronounce it correctly. I think it's Thule, hopefully that's correctly, or Tool. I think it's Tool actually, but regardless, it's actually something that is very interesting. The word I want to draw your attention to is Tool itself. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but I put it in Google Translate and that's what it told me, so that's what I'm going to go with right here. So Tool is an interesting word because this is something that related to Greek mythology and also Roman mythology, and we'll get into the Nazi stuff in a little bit, but this is just supposed to be, and this is true for all of the mythologies, it's just supposed to be the most northern place on the earth, so pretty much the North Pole. And this isn't really related in any way, shape, or form, but the thing is that if you actually look at the Greek mythology version of this, they say if you go to the North Pole, or the Thule, or Tool, I keep pronouncing it wrong, but anyways, if you go to the Tool, then it'll actually just always be sunny. Now, that is only half true because that's only true for half of the year, but the thing is that because of this, and knowing that they thought this, it actually proves to us that the Greeks did actually know the Earth was a sphere all the way back in the BC time. So, I mean, that's just something cool to throw in there also. It's just, I don't know, a little thing I just decided to share with you guys. But of course, their mythology wasn't exactly the best one either. I mean, it's interesting to say the very least. I mean, the Roman version, or wait, no, the Greek version is where there's a bunch of giants living on this place, and they're just giants, and yeah, that's cool. And I mean, the god of something is also living there. Don't really care because I don't think it's relating to it. Then you have the Roman one with a bunch of giant fishes, or fish, whatever you want to call them. I call it fishes because it sounds cooler, even though nobody else in the world says it like that. But of course, they're super intelligent fish that have existed like forever or something like that, and you have to get past them in order to get to this island. Of course, it's supposed to be essentially paradise every single time, so I guess there's a reason you would want to go there, but it's the only thing that's consistent between all of these is that it's always to the most northern place of the earth, again, the North Pole. And this is the thing, like, I know this is kind of unconnected or related right now, but that teaser that we got a couple days ago when we saw the auroras and the zombies standing there, and everybody started saying Alaska, like, why would you say Alaska? What would make you think that we are going to Alaska? No, we're going to the North Pole, okay? So just calm yourself down. Just calm down, okay? The Thule or Tool is relating to the North Pole, but hopefully that gets that thing out of the way because I don't get where the Alaska thing was coming up from. I mean, I don't know, but regardless, I mean, those were the two, I guess, things that were going on with the other two, mythologies. But let's jump into the Nazi mythology, which shouldn't be as crazy as a giant fish and and all that stuff, because I mean the Nazis weren't around in the BC times like the other two. They were around in just the last century, so they should be much better educated and not come up with such crazy things, right? Right? Of course not. Well, let's get into this. So a little before we before we could actually get into their whole belief system, let me actually explain what happened with it, because it's kind of weird, and this may not be exactly necessary, but I do feel like it may have some sort of connection. I'm not exactly sure, but of course, like I said at the start of the video, the Nazis liked having their occults in their societies because they started a tool society. Yep, they started that. That's a thing. And funny thing about this tool society, it actually went on to become the actual Nazi society or Nazi party. It actually turned into that. So this is just a little thing to throw out there that I think should be very useful information for everybody. Don't follow a party or a political party that used to be an occult. It's just a little thing that I want to share from my personal research to you guys. It's not well spread, so just go and spread that wherever you can. But regardless, apparently somehow that I've read through, but I'm not going to go through here because it'll take way too much time, but the Thrill Society somehow evolved into the Nazi Society, and this relates to a lot of the beliefs of the Nazis. And there's also a connection between them and the Nurbe, which we already know has a connection to the storyline, but I'll get into that later, because right now we have to deal with the Thrill Society and their crazy beliefs, which of course is now the Nazi beliefs, because they're pretty much the same thing. So of course, like I said, just like all of them, it's the furthest north place, so again, the North Pole for all of these different mythologies. But this is a little interesting, because just like the Nurbe, the society or the Nazi, just everywhere in Germany at the time, they were trying to prove that for some reason the Aryan race is the most superior race, and they had to find a way to do that, and that was their main goal of researching. And how did they do this? How exactly would they do this? Well, they decided that the Thule, or the North Pole, whatever you want to call it, is actually where, it's the capital of the place, because the place or the island that's on the country, it's Hyperborea. There's probably a proper way to pronounce that, but it's not that important. So the idea is that, of course, Atlantis is a thing, apparently, obviously. That is a real place that actually existed, obviously, but it sunk. Of course, in real life, apparently, the Atlantis sunk, and most of the Atlanteans died, right? Of course, you couldn't get rid of all of them, though, and, so somehow they found their way all the way to the North Pole and started living on Thule. Yes, that happened. And from there, they bred with or somehow their offspring became the Aryans, somehow, somewhere along those lines. I mean, that's the story they told. It's really convincing if you ask me. I mean, the Aryans, or not Aryans, the Atlanteans that survived, they went to the North Pole and spread their offspring to Germany. Man, I feel sorry for anyone who actually believed this, but that's actually the story. Like, oh my gosh, that's not much better than the Greeks and Romans version of this story. It's like, what are you talking about, dude? But anyways, as you guys can see, the main reason why this story was even told is that they wanted to prove that Aryans are superior, and because for some reason the Atlanteans are superior. I don't know when they were ever superior, but they're just another way to claim that the Aryans are the offspring of the Atlanteans. So that is the whole thing about this. So they're just, again, that's all there is to it. That's why they came up with this, I would call elaborate story, but it's not even elaborate. But yeah, that's exactly what's going on. So the main point is that we may see some more Atlantis stuff that may be going on, at least in some parts of the map, because we are expecting this to take place in 3 different locations. And this actually does relate to a trophy, because as you guys know, we already saw the trophies. Unless you guys haven't seen my video, it will be on screen right now. But of course, there was one that said escape from beneath the ice, and because of the teaser, seeing that we are going to be on the North Pole, so it looks like we will be just visiting the Thule place. And on top of that, inside the synopsis that I've already talked about, it also mentions the Tool, or I keep calling it Thule, but Tool area. So we're going to be just going into all that stuff. So we're probably going to see some Atlantis stuff all over inside this. I'm not exactly sure to what extent, because again, in the past with the Darkest Shore, we were supposed to see more Atlantis stuff inside that map, but it was cut, unfortunately. But I'm really hoping that they take that opportunity here and just change it over here, because it was cut from the other one. So I would like to see it pop up again here. But I know I would like to take this serious, but I just can't. I honestly want to make a nice serious video for you guys, but I just look at this and think, what is going on here? But anyways, one last thing I want to share with you guys before I actually end this video, and it actually relates to the Inerbe and of course what I just call it, the Tool Society, because like I said, the Tool Society went on to become the Nazi Party and all that good stuff. But the funny thing is that there was some sort of connection between these, because obviously there's going to be connection between them because they had such similar beliefs. They were both trying to prove that the Aryan race were descendants of the Atlanteans. So that's something that you have in common. But it's actually all from a book that was a fake book, I guess. I honestly want to find out what's in this book, but I just cannot find it anywhere. But I believe the book is called Orient Elinda book, something along those lines. I don't know how to pronounce it, but apparently it's also trying to prove stuff. And the thing is, guess who got his hands on this book and tried to push it out there as propaganda? None other than Himmler himself. Himmler, that guy, got to prove it to everybody that I don't know, he's doing his thing. And he was trying to use this book to prove it, to also get some of the Christians to follow the whole idea, because it was supposed to be something of the Nordics Bible or something like that. I don't know exactly what's going on, seriously. I really don't know what's going on. I again want to take this serious, but I just can't. I honestly can't. I just look at this and think, wow, did a child write this? Did a child actually write this? But anyways, the thing is, luckily enough, this book, out of the many things that were accepted, this book was the one thing that wasn't accepted by anything at all, and they just completely discredited this. But because of that, Himmler was very upset with it, and he started the Inerbe. So there is a connection between this whole thing that's going on here and the Inerbe. So we may see some sort of return, which honestly I find quite surprising, because I was thinking that we're going to see like all these connections to the Aryan race and the Nazis just kind of fade away now, because I was expecting for us to just go ahead and start this entirely new fictional story, especially after everything that took place in the Shadowed Throne. I mean, we thought that we were pretty much done with it, but of course from the synopsis, and now that we're seeing where we're probably going to have some of the map take place, we do know that the Final Reich is now a thing, and they're trying to continue the legacy of the whole Nazi stuff that's going on. So that is very interesting. I would like to hear what you guys think about it. Personally, I would like to see a separation for this. I do think it was a good way to start your story, but I do feel like it kind of limits your story, and that's the main reason Treyarch also left that whole thing. They left it back in Black Ops 2, and it really, at the end of Black Ops, really, they kind of left that thing behind, and I do think it's a good starting round, but right now would be a good time to start backing away from it, because it is very limiting to your story. I know it also adds things, and I mean, it makes the villains really easy, because you don't have to really explain much about your villains. I mean, they were Nazis, so it's kind of easy, but regardless, I just want to hear what you guys think about this, and go ahead and tell me what you guys think about this whole thing. Hopefully I made some sort of sense, but I can't honestly take this serious. I honestly can't. I look at everything. But anyways, I've said that a billion times, so I'm just gonna shut up now. But go ahead and tell me what you guys think about everything in this video. But I'm gonna go, and if you guys did enjoy the video, or at least found it entertaining, go ahead, do all the normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, bell, share, and especially bell. But I'm gonna go, and I will catch you guys in my next stream or video.